markets to others.
Well, we are live on another Security Everywhere live first Thursday of every single month. And these guys are bringing you insane value when it comes to information and how to make sure that you are protecting your business. So without further ado, we have the wonderful team from Security Everywhere, as well as a surprise guest. And also Hannah Koo from the Cyber Resilience Center, who's going to be sharing their wealth of knowledge, and obviously the wonderful Ben Beer, who's smiling away, as you can see already, and the wonderful Sheldon Reynolds from Security Everywhere, and both of them bring a wealth of experience. And this is your opportunity where you can learn, go and ask questions. So please drop your comments in the comment section on either LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and now Twitter as well. So we're live on all four of those platforms. So choose where you want to watch it. You can watch the replay, and you can drop your comments in afterwards, and we will get back to you should you have questions about the content today. But today is all about supply chain. So Ben, I'm going to hand over the reins to you, and let's roll with this, because I know people have got a lot to learn on the subject.
Mac, thank you very much for the welcome, the introduction, and for making this all possible for us. Just tell us a bit more about the great work you do on LinkedIn and how you do it.
As you can see, it says there next to my name, the LinkedInexpert.com is where you can find me, or just on LinkedIn. I specialize in helping people build a business strategy using LinkedIn as a tool. Because there's a concept called 1990, which currently that basically means that only 1% of people are actually posting content on LinkedIn. About 7 to 9% of people are those people that like, share, comment, as an example, engage, and then about 90% are the voyeurs, the ones that watch. So they are looking for that know, like, and trust factor. So we help you become the go-to expert and authority in your space on LinkedIn. But cybersecurity is such an important thing. Because on social media, we are at risk every single day, and it's so easy for people to be taken advantage of. So this is why I show up every single month, because people need to know about this stuff. So that's me in a nutshell, Ben.
Oh, bless you, Mac. Thank you. Thank you very much for making this possible and using your expertise so we can actually reach out with our message, with our insights, giving people an opportunity to ask questions, to learn, and not just protect themselves, but spread the word and protect each other as well. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this session. Obviously, Francis is normally the host with the most, but he can't be with us today. So he's left me in his reins. I'm known affectionately as his left-hand man. So Francis talks the talk. It's my job to make sure that our customers are protected and secure. It's my job to walk the walk. Joining me today is Sheldon, our executive account manager. And Sheldon, if you'd like to give yourself a little bit of introduction, but also about this whole topic has come about from the fact that we do a Ask Us Anywhere session, which is the third Thursday. So the first Thursday for the live event. The third Thursday is a 30-minute audio session, which actually allows people, instead of just popping questions in the comments, they can actually come up onto the audio stage, if you like, and can actually interact and have not just ask their questions, but have a conversation about what we're doing. So when Sheldon is doing his outreach, he is often asked a lot of questions. And so, Sheldon, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us why we've got today's topic.
Fantastic. Yeah. So first of all, thank you for inviting me today, Ben. It's my first time on our LinkedIn live session, so I feel rather honored to be up here with you all. So like Ben mentioned, my name is Sheldon Reynolds. I'm the account executive for Security Everywhere. I work very closely with our clients to understand their needs, tailor our security solutions to fit their requirements, and ensure at the end of the day, seamless delivery of top-notch services. So as Ben mentioned, I also host the Ask Me Anything sessions, which, just to reiterate, are every third Thursday of the month. Those are 30-minute sessions between 4 and 4:30 p.m. and gives myself, Ben, and Francis the opportunity to help answer those burning questions. So what we've done today, specifically for our clients, as supply chain attacks have been on the news so much recently, and it's really has been a topic of discussion that has come up more often than not. So we thought, let's make today's session around supply chain, as realistically there's not enough time to dive into this topic on our 30-minute sessions.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Sheldon. And joining us from the London Cyber Resilience Centre is Hannah. So Hannah, if you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Hannah from the Cyber Resilience Centre for London, and I'm the Customer Relationship Manager, just helping small to medium-sized businesses and third sector organisations to strengthen the resilience against common cyber attacks. So it's kind of just making sure they have the basic best practices in place. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money and things like that. Much of the information we provide is all in line with the National Cybersecurity Centre. And it's just about trying to raise awareness and trying to encourage small businesses to actually adopt these security best practices that are easy wins at the end of the day. It's just changing the habits that we have and building trust amongst our customers, which is essentially what safeguarding the supply chain is all about. So yeah, thank you for having me and looking forward to talking more about it.
Hannah, that's lovely, because that's in a nutshell exactly what we're here and what we're all about, to actually make businesses aware that it doesn't have to cost the world. There are some elements you can introduce that can keep you much more secure. Multi-factor being a great example. Doesn't cost you anything other than a bit of your time and maybe a bit of effort. but it makes such a difference to the level of security on your accounts, and it's something that's so simple, but it's actually driving that message and building up that trust that cybersecurity is such a varied and sophisticated topic now. It's having some go-to resources that are there to, that they can trust to look after them. So thank you very much for joining us. Now, I'm full of smiles today because this is actually a great topic for me. And it's because what we'll get to find out through the course of the session is that actually this is where we can use cybersecurity to actually empower our business. So instead of it being a cost, a necessity, something that you must have to keep your business safe, this is where we can actually use cybersecurity and having those protections in place to gain more business. We can actually use it as a business driver so that we can go out to companies and say, we are already secure, we are already, we have the defenses and the structures in place to make sure that if we're going to be part of your supply chain, then we will be, then we are the guys for you because we've already got those protections in place. So without further ado, Sheldon, the first question is quite simply.
Yeah, so I think before we dive too deeply into the topic, I think it's if you can just explain to us what exactly is supply chain attacks.
Okay, so there's been a number of supply chain attacks that we've seen in the news, and supply chain attack can be anything to do with the resources that a company uses in order to do what it needs to do to achieve business. And while a company can make sure that their own internal systems are protected and safe, if they've got a third-party supplier, they need to know and rely on that supplier having secured their services and their systems. So they come in a variety of different forms of supply chain attack. So it could be that a third party has access to your systems to be able to upload data, download data for analysis, or for things like payroll, where there's that data interaction. And if they've got credentials, they need to make sure that they have been properly secured so that a third party isn't going to breach, so an attacker isn't going to breach those third party credentials to gain access to your system. So that's the most basic form of supply chain attack. They compromise somebody else's credentials to access your system. So it isn't any of your staff or anything that your guys have done, it's the third party. But it actually becomes much more sophisticated than that. The latest one that's been in the news recently, it's affected the NHS, it was British Airways. I think the count is over 2,000 organisations have been affected by this. And it's the Move It bug. So the Klopp ransomware gang found this exploit in a file transfer service, and it's for securely transferring large amounts of files. So it's used quite extensively among big corporate companies, particularly with locations in different parts of the world, to securely transfer those files. They think that the Klopp ransomware gang had actually found this exploit about 18 months ago, have been working on it, developing it, looking at all the potential customers or the users of the Move It system that they could then exploit via this bug that they found. And then in one big swoop, they went out and they attacked all these different companies using this system. So this was a very, very planned, targeted attack using a common vulnerability, but it was in a third-party system. It was in the technology system that all these companies were using, expecting it to be secure for transferring their data. So again, in this case, it wasn't actually a person's username and password that were compromised. It was actually a vulnerability in the system they were using. Okay, so then we go one step further, and then you've got and particularly it's the North Koreans. They go after software companies, and what they try and do is hack the software company, and they infiltrate them, however, via compromised credentials or social engineering, maybe a server vulnerability. But once they're in that network, they inject their malicious code into the software update. So all the people running that company's software, when they next get their update, which they think is to fix the bugs and to keep them extra secure, it actually uploads malicious code, which then wants a backdoor. So that's what we saw with the SolarWinds attack that happened, I think 18 months, was at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, where seven US government departments all got compromised. Microsoft was compromised. The White House, their IT systems were compromised because they all used this system called SolarWinds, and the attackers managed to compromise the SolarWinds organization, inject their malicious code, and when that update rolled out to all the users of their system, it then uploaded a backdoor which allowed access, and it was actually in fact the Chinese and the Russians that were in on that one. But again, it's the point that by accessing and infiltrating the supplier, they then get a whole magnitude of customers. So instead of having to hack 2,000 different organizations, you hack one organization and it gives you access to 2,000. Coming down and making it a bit more relative to the small business user space, there was a big hack on a technology supplier to MSPs, managed service providers. So small to medium enterprises that don't have internal IT staff very often outsource their IT to a managed service provider. And Kaseya provide a system that allows remote access to the customers of that MSP. So all the small businesses that use the IT company to provide their services. And by compromising that one MSP, suddenly they had remote access to all their customers that they have remote access to. And in fact, it wasn't just MSP, it was thousands of MSPs that were all using the Kaseya system. So you see they hacked one company and one system. That was then used with a variety of different MSPs. And then that then goes out to all their customers that they manage. So now you're actually going 3 levels deep in a supply chain attack. So we can see that actually the focus has become on hacking the supplier, because it allows to actually get you far more outreach than if you were to do it with those companies individually. It also puts a lot more pressure on the company that has been hacked, because they're now in the public eye, that their system has led to the compromise of lots of other companies in terms of being able to extort them for money and get ransoms and extortions from them. So, Sheldon, would you like to introduce our next question?
Yeah, no, sure. Thanks for the answer to that. That was extremely insightful and really in depth, very helpful. In saying that, another question that I've been asked actually a few times is, people ask me, are they actually a part of a supply chain?
Okay,
yeah.
So with I was just trying to find my mute button.
Sorry.
So with the am I part of a supply chain? So if you're part of a supply chain, it's whether you're accessing any customer data. Are you interacting directly with their systems? And what services do you provide to your customers from a data and from an information point of view? Now, Hannah, I don't know, with your exposure to the small businesses you work with in the London Cyber Resilience Centre, is there anything that you commonly get asked about, or the inquiries you have in terms of protecting yourself as being part of a supply chain?
So yeah, I mean, with a small business, a lot of like criminals are now hacking into the small business network first, because they know the larger organizations have and can afford to have like bespoke security solutions, internal processes, and tech support and everything like that. So they're trying to get themselves through the supply chain first via the smaller businesses that might have weaker security. And so if you believe yourself to be part of a supply chain or want to win contracts and things, obviously protecting yourself as best you can, it is recommended and suggested. And at the Cyber Resilience Centre for London, we support the use of what is called Cyber Essentials, which is a government-backed certification scheme which makes sure that businesses meet security controls that will safeguard you against the most common types of cyber threats. You know, it assesses your malware protection, how strong your passwords are, your user access controls, security update management, and that kind of thing. And then, you know, you have Cyber Essentials, which is a self-assessment, so you complete that yourself. And in theory, by working through the questions, if, like, say, you are unable to answer one of the questions, then you can kind of work towards implementing that control until you are meeting those requirements, and then hopefully you pass the certification. So you don't have to be perfect straight away. It's just a way of having like a checklist to make sure you have all the security controls you need to hopefully work together that will safeguard the majority from the majority of cyber attacks. And then, you know, by the end of it, you should be much better protected. And then you have Cyber Essentials Plus, where then you have like an independent third party who runs verification checks just to test the controls, and they look for evidence to demonstrate the implementation that you've kind of mentioned you have. And there are companies out there who can sort of support you through the assessment as well, so you don't have to do this on your own. But, you know, by having Cyber Essentials, you can just demonstrate to your customers and your suppliers that you're taking measures to protect your business and data from cybercrime. And then this can also help you to win contracts over competitors, just because, you know, you'll be seen as someone who is taking cybersecurity seriously. And, you know, Cyber Essentials is also a requirement for some government contracts as well. So it's just something to keep in mind. And it's just a way of, you know, demonstrating that kind of commitment to data security, your cybersecurity and all that kind of thing. You know, having that badge there. And again, like, you know, there's no harm in having it anyway, even if you don't have you're not part of the supply chain, because it just means that you have a checklist of security controls you need to put in place, and it's just a trust element, you know, a way to demonstrate trust between all the customers and suppliers that you use as well. So yeah, that's one of the suggestions I would say to small businesses. And also, if you're looking to work with someone, then that kind of is a good indicator as well that they're going to be looking after your information.
Yeah, good. And are you finding that you're getting a lot more inquiries about Cyber Essentials now?
I think sometimes the uptake can be a bit slower, but, you know, at the end of the day, I think it's just because not many people are aware it's out there. So, you know, it's more us feeding that information to them and raising that awareness. And, you know, the businesses we talk to are very, very small and at the very start of their journey. And then I think the ones that kind of are doing a bit more like office-based job places, they obviously are aware of these cybersecurity controls they need. So they do have those sort of measures, but they don't necessarily know that they could take up a certification to demonstrate all this. So that's where we kind of come in. We go door to door actually talking to the businesses and let them know of all this information. And so we actually raise that awareness that Cyber Essentials is around. And yeah, there's been some people who have like come to us to ask for it. You know, we took it up ourselves. And it's just a way of just knowing that we've got the security measures in place. And it's a nice kind of team exercise as well. You know, if you've got some people in the team, you might want to just sort of make sure that they're doing all they can to safeguard your information as well, you know, using two-factor authentication. They're updating their software regularly, using strong passwords. So it's a good little exercise as a bit of a audit control, I guess, every year. But yeah, I think the uptake is still quite low, but at the end of the day, it's just about raising awareness of what it is.
Yeah, good. No, it's exactly that, because I think people automatically assume because it's to do with cyber, there's going to be a big cost attached, when actually it's just more like getting the basics in place and making sure they're being adhered to. So like you say, it's almost a win-win where you're doing a self-audit to make sure any new staff or, you know, any that everyone is actually following the right procedures, using the right systems to share data, having the multi-factor, obviously absolutely essential. But then it's the win-win that you're actually demonstrating that to your customers, and again, actually actively promoting it. So what we found is that over the last 2 years or so, gradually more and more customers are coming to us saying, right, you provide our security, do we tick these boxes? And from a supply chain point of view, we're actually seeing now that some of the customers that we work with are actually having to fill in forms to say they adhere to certain standards in order to be able to be a supplier of this larger organisation, very often government or a public body like the NHS, which is great, because that means that they're helping to drive the awareness and these standards forward. but it's actually realizing that it doesn't have to be a big expense to get these things in place. And then once you have, you can actually use it to promote your business. So we had one that it was a recruiter. So they don't actually interact with the company's business per se. They just literally send CVs. That's all they do. They don't have a login. They don't actually, extract any data or upload it directly. It's just via email. So we went through the document, and it was very corporate for all the customers, suppliers and clients that do actually connect into their systems. And we were able to go through and say, well, only that question is relative. They went back to their prospect client, who then actually came up with a secondary providers list. So rather than being ones that are fully integrated, and they actually had a supply chain assessment, basically written towards actually what their interaction was. So there's so what we're seeing is that the big corporates will come out with this big generic list of things that they require, when a lot of it won't be actually relative to the company that's going to do the supply. So again, having the Cyber Essentials is actually quite a shortcut for that, because it says, well, we've got all the basics in place. We're not actually going to be doing these bits which you're worried about, which have the biggest attack surface, and therefore we are ready to be one of your suppliers. And yeah, so we actually get to use cybersecurity as an advantage, as a business winner, and as a driver for growth. So thank you for that, and please keep up the excellent good work on providing the Cyber Essentials, because it doesn't have to be extremely expensive, and it does give you that safe peace of mind that at least your organisation is secure, let alone being able to supply to other companies. So moving swiftly on, we're coming up to nearly halfway through the session already. So as Mac suggested at the beginning of the session, we have a special guest with us today. He has been on one of our previous LinkedIn Live sessions, so you'll have to go back and look through for the previous recordings on the Security Everywhere LinkedIn page if you do want to see his previous trick, and it is absolutely mind-blowing that he did on one of the panelists. But without further ado, may I introduce Magic Martin.
Thank you very much, Ben. And yes, hello there, one and all. So I have, over the last few months, been working with obviously Security Everywhere to just share knowledge, essentially, because from a magician's perspective, it's all about using a lot of the skills and a lot of the techniques that cyber criminals use, such as social engineering and phishing, in order to achieve what I achieve. Obviously, I do it for entertainment purposes, and do not actually leave you any worse off than I find you. But it's still very much been an interesting process, and hearing the insights into kind of essentially how people can take things that I do and use them in malicious ways, and how we can find ways to protect ourselves against that as well. So now with this, so today I'm going to do, I've been thinking about what kind of trick to do linking to supply chains, and I've decided I'm going to do something which will link each and every one of us right now, and everyone is going to be able to get involved with this. So I want you all right now to grab your phones for me. And when you've got your phone, I want you to go onto your calculator for me, because we're going to do this all together right now. We're going to come up with our own special, unique number for this moment. So I tell you what, Hannah, I'm going to start off with you for this one. So Hannah, firstly, we are going to work out your birth number. Now, I define a birth number as being the day you were born, multiplied by the month, multiplied by the year. And I do appreciate it's rude to ask a lady her age, Hannah. So I'll leave it up to you. You can give us a false date of birth or your actual date of birth. But what year would you say you were born?
Had to find the unmute button there. I'm in denial about my age, but maybe I shouldn't be. I need to appreciate.
Give us any year you like. Any year you like.
Let's throw in 1990.
1990. So all of you on your calculators right now, put in 1990 and then hit multiply for me. What month would you say you were born, Hannah?
Let's say August.
Type in 8 for August and then hit multiply again. And then what date in August would you say you were born?
First.
The first. So if you all type in 1, That's fine. It doesn't matter because based on the 1st of August 1990, your birth number would be 15,920. If you all have that number on your calculators right now, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, right. So we're going to hit multiply again. Mac, I'm going to come to you this time, Mac. Mac, this time I want you please to give us the 4-digit PIN number to your debit card or credit card. Obviously, again, it can be a false number. It doesn't have to be the actual number. But what would you say?
But it shows you how easily I was sitting there thinking, oh, yeah, sure. Here you go.
Your face genuinely looked concerned then for a second.
5379.
5379, was that?
Yeah.
Okay, so if all of you hit multiply, type in 5379 and then press equals again for me. This time we end up with an even bigger number, which is 85,633,680. If you all have that number, give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Okay, now because we're going into the millions now, rather than hitting multiply, I want you all to hit plus for me instead. And also we're going to randomize it this time. Now, don't do anything with your calculators just yet. I'm going to turn mine upside down and I'm going to tap randomly like 9 times on the calculator. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I want you all to press plus and then put in the number we've just come up with here, which is 626 597 551. Went the 6s and 5s in that one, didn't I? Again, then one last time, after you put in that number, after you've plussed that number, I want you to press equals for me. Okay. So now the total you should all have is 231,231. Okay. If you all got that number right now, give me a thumbs up. Great. Now, bearing in mind, okay, this is made up from Hannah's birth number, the random numbers Matt gave us, and the random numbers we typed in. And had you given us another date, Hannah, had it been the 2nd of August, it would have brought us to a different number. Or likewise, Mac, most people tend to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So had you done that, it would have brought us to a different number. However, magic's all about perception, because this number you've come up with, this 712,231,231, is actually broken down into today's date, which is the 7th of the 12th, 23. And if you're in England right now, if you all look at the time in England right now is 12:31 p.m. There we go.
No.
Anyways, I was just on 12:31.
That is amazing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, just to quickly do one more quick thing, because Sheldon, I noticed there that obviously you were so sat keenly waiting, ready to go there for a thing to be part of the magic. And I want to also be part of this as well. So all of you keep your phones in your hand for a second, because I'm going to give the cards a good mix up, Sheldon, and I'm going to go through. I want you to say stop anytime you like for me.
Stop.
Okay, perfect. So you could have stopped on any of these cards. Okay, it could have been any of these cards, but this card I'm going to turn away so I can't see is right there. Can you see that?
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to shove that right back into the card so I can't see, because we're done with that. Now, Sheldon, I would like you now to give me any number between 1 and 100.
12.
12. Okay, so on my phone, on my notes, I've got a list of over 100 landmarks from around the world. I've got the landmarks list right there. So as you can see, we've got like Taj Mahal, Stonehenge, Great Wall of China, Statue of Liberty, Eiffel Tower, Grand Canyon, all sorts. So we go to number 12 today. Number 12 is the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Okay, so had you gone for number 13, it would have been the Hollywood sign. Had you gone for 14, it would have been Golden Gates Bridge, but Leaning Tower of Pisa is what you picked today out of the list, Sheldon. Now, before we started this session, and actually before we did anything, I made a little prediction on Instagram. So if you can all see my rolling title there, at Magic Man Martin. If you have Instagram, go onto Instagram right now, search Magic Man Martin, and if you all look at the latest post that I put on Instagram, it doesn't matter if you don't have it, so I'll show you myself in a second, because if you all look at the latest post, what was your card, Sheldon, out of interest?
It was Ace Diamonds. What?
Indeed, and I have Ace of Diamonds in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
No, that is incredible.
So there we go, one and all. A couple of quick little things to bamboozle your minds, and yeah, otherwise very much what everyone's been saying has been very valid, and is the smaller links in the chain that make up the strength of the overall chain. And if anything is testament to that, and is something that a lot of you will have had personal experience with, hopefully, is I before becoming a magician, I actually was an estate agent for 7 years and ran an estate agency. And that's a different type of magic in itself, because especially if you're in the UK, you'll know that buying and selling a property in England is an extremely stressful process, and quite often we'll end up with a chain of properties, and even right up until the day of exchange, where you've got all your boxes packed out, everything's all set up, ready to go. All it takes is for one person to go, actually, do you know what? I'm changing my mind. I don't want to move now, and the whole chain falls apart. And so it is important to make sure that we have these little securities in place on the individual links, because it just makes the overall chain a lot more stronger. So anyways, right, that is enough from my side. I'm going to hand it back to your rather bamboozled face. Mac, you look like you did.
I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, this is just nuts. But I've just been on your thing. And now that you've been in the property industry, is that how the Leaning Tower of Pisa I mean, did you do that too?
No, I combined skills there, combined skills.
Martin, absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much for giving up your time and joining us. But also the how you made it so relevant as well. And you absolutely nailed it. Where you said about how it's all this, the security of each part of the chain, makes up the overall security.
I think
really interesting.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Go on.
I was going to say, I think it's easier when you're a small business, because even myself as being a magician, I'm a sole trader essentially. And, I still have to operate in different kind of chains of either bookings or supplies. And especially in the magic industry in particular, it's a pretty cutthroat industry. So, it's very important. It's very important to protect the smaller chain link that is yourself, because if you can provide a solid foundation, a solid kind of place to come from, then people feel more secure dealing with you, and it makes it easier just in the long run for everyone.
Yeah. So that comes back to exactly what Hannah was saying about building up that trust, and I guess particularly why we really like the way that you engage with people on the LinkedIn Live is because of the social engineering element, which is absolutely fundamental to the attacks that go on, the phishing. Social engineering people in customer support to do SIM swap attacks, to actually convince somebody in accounts to change bank details and pay the wrong invoice. It's all about using those triggers to create urgency and get people to think with the irrational side of the brain rather than the rational. But it was very interesting that you mentioned about the estate agents, because of course at the moment we've got a massive problem. One of the big IT providers for estate agents has just been done. So nobody can access their hosted cloud services. And there's about 40 or 50 estate agents in the UK that are affected by this US provider, and they can't do the completions. So they're now all about to get sued and fined for breach of contract for not being able to complete on time, when actually it's nothing to do with them. It's their provider that's been hacked. So there's going to be a big fallout from that one as well. But wonderfully engaging and mind blown as always, Martin. So thank you very much for coming along and contributing to our session, and and hopefully enlightening our audience with just how these things are all interlinked and all play a part.
Indeed. Well, thank you for having me, and I will look forward to hearing whatever anyone else has to chip in.
We look forward to the next one in the new year. So Martin, so have you actually got any local events coming up? Are you doing any online things between now and Christmas that people can attend? Is there a link we can put up for you to let people know who you are and what you do?
That's a very good point, Ben. Thank you for mentioning that, actually. So I do actually do an online virtual show called Secrets of Magic on Airbnb. I will just quickly put that into the chat now. Here, let me just put that in there. So I am lucky because I've managed to get, they call it a vanity link, which means that my experience title was within the URL. So it's airbnb.com/secrets of magic. And it's a show and a workshop where I actually break the magician's code and teach everyone how to do a couple of tricks with household items. So it's great if you are kind of spread out, if you are kind of a remote team, or if you are operating remotely, or you can't quite see the family this year because they're in a different country, then it provides a great fun way of being able to connect with people around the world and have a bit of fun.
Yeah, lovely. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Marty. Right, so moving swiftly on, we've only got 20 minutes of the session left. Time just flies, as we've always got so much to talk about and so much to get through. But Sheldon, so if you can take us to our next question, please.
Great, thanks. Thanks, Ben. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my voice again because I'm a little bit lost for words after what Martin just did, to be honest with you. That was pretty incredible. But as a business owner or someone working in a company, their question might be, what is my supply chain?
Yeah, very good. So again, it's looking at all the companies that are interacting with you in terms of if they're actually providing data, if they're actually using your data to provide service. So that's where payroll, HR, those sort of where you subcontract for them to come and do various roles for you, or it might be the systems you use. And of course, we're always going on about how important it is to keep systems updated with the latest patches, with the latest updates to prevent security breaches from vulnerable bugs. But of course, it's, as we've discussed earlier, it's those systems that can actually the updates to those systems that can bring the vulnerability. So, Mac, I think I saw you posting some links earlier. There's some great resources on the NCSC. So that's the National Cybersecurity Centre, and they have some resources and some guides that you can use to actually assess your own supply chain. So therefore, they'll look at what systems it is you're using, what software providers, what type of system it is. Are people logging into your systems? Are they accessing your data? What personal PII data they had available. I was going to say, when Martin started his tricks and started asking for dates of birth and PIN numbers, I thought, oh yeah, he's on the social engineering already, and that wasn't anything actually to do with the trick, of course, with the importance of GDPR regulations. When we are outsourcing HR and payroll functionalities and things like that, of course, that's your data that's being held by somebody else. So it's making sure that they've got their security in place. And of course, great way to do that is looking for, do they have cyber essentials? Have they actually bothered to make the effort to reach this, I was going to say a basic standard or a minimum standard, but it's not. It's a good standard to actually highlight that they have got to a good level of security. And maybe that's now going to be a consideration when you are selecting a supplier. Have they got their cyber essentials? So going back to what Hannah was talking about, it builds that trust. Going back to what Mike said about it's all those links in the chain, and while there's as we've uncovered, there's a variety of different links that may forms that link may come in. So yes, please have a look at the links on the cybersecurity, the National Cybersecurity Centre, because they will provide you with really insightful information in terms of looking at all the different systems you use. And it's not just your Microsoft operating system and your Office software for writing a document. It is things like file transfer services. It is how you actually communicate that data and who you're communicating it to. So there's some really good resources there to be able to help. And of course, it depends on which industry that you're in as well. So one of the big things that we're looking at the moment is we're working with companies in the automotive industry, because with the introduction and the increasing popularity and the drive to go carbon neutral, electric vehicles are obviously becoming more and more common on our streets now. They're obviously much more controlled by computers. There's a lot more telemetry data, so live data that's going on between the car and the car manufacturer in terms of the car performance. So it's becoming an Internet of Things device. It's actually, it's always connected and it's always transmitting that data. So, maybe it might be location information. So it's making sure that that connection is secure to the manufacturer. But not only that, if you've got to take your car in for a service and the mechanic's got to plug in a laptop to be able to do the diagnostics, well, that laptop needs to be super secure, because God forbid if a virus got uploaded from the local mechanic into the vehicle, we've got a long way to go in terms of how advanced the electric vehicles are gonna get. Obviously they're talking about eventually being self-driving. I think we've got some self-driving lorries that are actually being tested in the US and actually live tested on the roads now. And what it does is it creates a whole new attack surface for the attackers to go after. And because of what I do, I keep informed via various different newsletters and cybersecurity community channels. And apparently one of the big things on the Russian underground forums at the moment is how they can exploit electric vehicles. And they're not talking about, taking over it and driving the car or slamming on the brakes while you're driving to cause an injury. Now, the Russians are they're renowned for their cyber attacks being financially motivated, and they just want to lock you out of the car. Pay me £1,000 or else you don't get back in your car, because we've disabled it, and there's no way you can get back in until we've actually turned off the feature that turns on, opens and locks the door. So, and if you can't unlock the door, how can you get in then to plug the laptop in to fix it? So there's all these kind of things that they're now starting to discuss and talk about, and how they can actually start to exploit these. So we always say that the attackers are always looking for new avenues, and they're always the challenge is that they're always one step ahead, because they're always looking at these new opportunities, and that's one of big concern that's coming up. So Francis is doing. In fact, that's where he is today. He is with the Automotive Association. I think it's a conference up in Milton Keynes, to talk about all the supply chain, because obviously all the mechanics and manufacturers are all part of the supply chain to the vehicle, which is the service that the person is using. So all obviously very relevant to what we're talking about today, and becoming increasingly important.
Ben,
right.
I thought I'd make just a quick comment there, because unfortunately I like thinking outside the box a bit. But when you're talking about your electric vehicles and the motor trade right now, and how important it is for those individual suppliers to make sure that they're protected at service level in the supply chain, if we think about the dangers that opens up, and that's a whole can of worms. But imagine, because when it comes to things like email hacks that we tend to see, and those people that end up making payments to companies that they shouldn't have, very often the problem arrived on their laptop well before the incident actually takes place. So it could be days, months, weeks, years. And if you've got a supplier that didn't know, they haven't had any issues, but it could be 12 months before they realize that their whole database for the last 12 months have been exposed. And if you think about, right now, I work within security and crime as well, especially residential and commercial, and you look at people going out and they're taking special scanning software out to people's homes to go and steal high value vehicles. Now they don't even have to do that. They can just sit at home and go auto drive, just drive all these cars onto a truck and sit somewhere, anywhere in the world. And that's quite a mind-blowing concept to think about, but the reality is there. So the motor trade needs to get onto this very, very quickly. So anyway, thought I'd just throw that out there.
No, that's a great contribution, because it is the more interconnected everything is, the more frightening it is, because of the prospect of what could be done if malicious actors actually manage to compromise the systems. And what I am going to go back to just very quickly is, like you say, Mac, it's the fact that they actually stay hidden. So With email, obviously it's the 94% of all attacks coming through, all compromises start with an email. Initially, it was that the attackers spoofed and they pretended to be a company, but if you actually looked into the email details, you found that they were actually sending it from their own server, and they were just pretending to be another company in order to commit that fraud. So that was what was known as business email compromise, BEC fraud version 1. Then DMARC became available. That's the one we talked about. Was it last week on the or the week before, the month before, in the email security session, where that actually was introduced and enforced by Microsoft a couple of years ago to really clamp down on this spoofing, because the DMARC says this email must come from where it says it's come from. So suddenly, these spray and pray attacks using spoofing became much more ineffective. So now what they do is they compromise an account. And rather than just send out hundreds of spam messages, they sit there and they wait. And they watch for that email saying, oh, we're due an invoice. And then they will actually jump in on the email thread. So it's already an existing email thread going backwards and forwards going, yeah, this is what we want. Right, here's your invoice. And then they'll jump in and go, oh, by the way, our new bank details are. And because that conversation is already ongoing, because it's come from a legitimate email address, it's not a spoof, it's actually from their email account. And worse than that, it's actually halfway through an email thread. That's therefore they've got the social engineering there, and they've actually exploited that supply chain link to be able to commit the fraud. So that was what was known as BEC2. And now they've gone one further, and we've got BEC3. And that's not only are they sending out the link from a compromised account. So this isn't where they've so they haven't obviously waited to hijack a thread, but what they've done is compromise the account, and then they contact they email the contacts that are actually within the email program, and they have a link to Dropbox or to OneDrive or Google Drive or any of the legitimate file sharing services to say, oh, particularly this time of year, please find a link to a little Christmas offering that we're sending to you for being a valued partner, customer, supplier, client, whatever. And you think, oh, well, I know this person, it's come from their email address, it's a legitimate download source, so I'm going to click that link, and all of a sudden you've just been infected with malware. And while it might pop you up a nice little dancing image of some elves and Santa feeling all festive or whatever their theme may be, that's just the decoy for the fact that you've actually then downloaded something malicious to your machine. But not only have they now used a legitimate but compromised email account, they've then used a legitimate file but compromised file sharing service as well. And it all builds up that authenticity in terms of the social engineering, because it's all coming from authentic sources that they're manipulating and abusing to have that trust. As Hannah says with the it's all about the trust. Well, you've got that trust because you speak to this person regularly, because they're a regular contact, because it's come from their email, because it's come from their OneDrive. And then that increases the chances of the attack being successful by the malicious actor. So again, that's where that trust as being part of the supply chain of having these business interactions, why it's so important that you keep your bit of the link secure and you look at the links around you as well. But like you said, Mac, that social media and the platforms you work with are always under attack. So, I mean, what is it that you see sort of supply chain oriented in that?
Well, I've actually got some interesting stuff for you, because we literally, during this conversation, have had what I would call a supply chain attack. And let me kind of explain how that works, because one of the big challenges is there are a lot of companies that outsource their social media, as you know. And the problem with that is people don't often ask the question about, how are you, and this is the question I always ask when somebody says to me, oh, no, we've got somebody who does it for you. I'm like, okay, that's great. What are the security measures in place? And it's like, it never crosses their mind. And they just assume, well, they do everything for me. I'm assuming that they are protected. And it can be somebody or five who's running off his laptop who doesn't have anything. So you really have to think about who is in that chain. What protection do they have in place? Because I've seen people. So LinkedIn, as an example, is it's somebody's online reputation. It's a company's online reputation, and I've seen accounts shut down by LinkedIn because of weird activity or superstitious activity or whatever. It's not quite the word, but you know what I mean. Superstitious activity, but and these things can cause issues. So one of the things that's literally just happened during the session, because if we think about it, LinkedIn's part of that supply chain, but it's one part that we don't have a control over. So we really have to think about what we put out there. So when Magic Martin was asking all those questions, so easy to put that information out, not thinking about it. And like you were talking about, these links that people send out with the dancing Santas and all those kind of things. I'll give you 3 examples of what has happened during the session. So we've had 3 separate LinkedIn profiles that were created purely so that they can go onto the comments of this event and repost the link to this event to kind of, so it looks like they are saying, join this event, join this event, join the event, click on this link now and you get access to live streaming, even though all they have to do is click join on the actual event. And we had one from a company called, they've named themselves Official Stream, 3 followers. We then had one called Live Stream Today, 0 followers. And each one of them have gone cybersecurity supply chain event, click on this link now, here's the code. So they're actually creating their own link to take you to something suspicious. So I've because I see this and I know about these things, I've gone and reported 47 attempts during our conversation today. So if that happens during a cyber event, because that's always going to be something where we're more prone to these things. But imagine what's happening to those people who are unaware of this and they're just thinking, oh, wow, look at all these people loving my event, sharing my link. In the meantime, what they're doing is they're actually attacking your audience. And that is so dangerous. I mean, we even had one called Zoom Link. So they created a profile with 5 followers called Zoom Link with the Zoom logo as their profile logo. So all these things, like you say, they look so official. It's so easy. You want to join the event, you just click, but you're opening up. So just I'm going to be tagging LinkedIn into some of the comments to kind of go, hey guys, this is happening on your platform. And how are you protecting other events? I mean, we know about these things, so we know what to look for. But what about all those others? So anyway, thought I'd just share that with you, Ben. I'll send you the PDF of the printout of all the links that I reported.
Mac, we've got to have a private chat about this, because I know that one of the big things is that people share their LinkedIn details with a third party in order for them to do the updates and what have you, like you said. But the fact that they're actually spoofing us to be able to provide a malicious link, so people think they're joining to be secure or to improve their security, and they're actually being exploited. That is just so as the security manager, gosh, I don't know. I can't know everything.
Well, this is the thing is
just phenomenal.
Yeah, and the fact that this is something that people can do on LinkedIn so easily, and for us, it's easy to spot these things. But so many people will literally just think, hey, wow, I've got 47 comments, looks good. They're all sharing my link, loving this. In the meantime, there's mayhem happening and disaster happening in the background that they don't even have a clue about. So, yeah.
Yeah, we'll organise a catch up when Francis is back in the office tomorrow or beginning of next week, because that's something that we'd like.
We need to do a post about LinkedIn.
If nothing else, we need to make sure that when people are connecting, that they are connecting via the genuine link, because there's nothing worse than a security supplier being exploited, so that people can manipulate that. That is
and this is just an example of our event. But if I think about, there are some events that have 1,000, 10,000, 15,000 people go and apply, and there's only it might be a Zoom link that you actually have to go on because it's a private Zoom event. People will go, they'll click on every link just to get in because of that fear of missing out on some of these things. And that's where the big danger massively lies. I mean, we're a little bit more aware, but just imagine what's happening out there if this is happening so easy.
Yeah. No, that's something we need to talk to you about, and then we can make a either a post or as part of a session in the new year, because that is absolutely mind blowing, Mac. And like you say, it's literally just happened while we're on the call. Just unreal. Right. On that bombshell, I see we are coming up to the end of the event, Mac. Thank you for making this possible. Without you, we would not be able to do this. So your time and effort is very much appreciated, and your insights, because it's this is what we use, and what we do as part of a small business company that's working with other small businesses. It's resources like this that are becoming an intrinsic way of communicating with our customers, and but also not only that from the point of view of sales and security everywhere, and I know from the London Cyber Resilience Centre, it's also about promoting good practices and just enabling people to protect themselves in order to if nothing else, make the world a better place. So Hannah, thank you very much for joining us and giving up your time again. It was very insightful from the to hear your interactions with the Cyber Essentials and how that's being promoted to improve everyone's security. Magic Martin, you have blown us away once again, and we very much look forward to having you on board again with us. And all the best of luck with your Christmas sessions and the Airbnb Secrets of Magic remote sessions. It's absolutely brilliant. And Sheldon, if you'd just like to remind us one last time about your Ask Us Anywhere session.
Yeah, so just to remind everyone, that's every third Thursday of the month, as you can see below. Every third Thursday of the month, 4 to 4:30 p.m. It's a 30-minute session, so we'll see you there.
Wonderful. Right. So I just remember to thank everyone for attending the session wherever you are in the world. You can always come back, and if you missed any of the session, it will be on the Security Everywhere LinkedIn page, along with previous sessions if you do want to go back through, particularly to find Magic Martin's previous appearance with us. And thank the panel and everyone for joining us today, and just wishing you all a very cyber safe festive period. We look forward to seeing you in the new year.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great
Thanks, guys.
December, and be safe.
Bye.